Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another Mainstream Monday here on Horror Film Lovers. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody. I'm here with
John Ward.
John Ward is back again, and we're going to be talking about The Nun Part 2. But at first, I thought we're going to be watching Nuns on a Run, on the Run, and I was going to watch that. Then you told me it was The Nun Part 2. I was kind of
Well,
disappointed.
there is Nuns on the Run Part 2. So that's the one we're watching.
Nuns on the Part 2. I
So,
would love to
yeah.
see a Nuns on the Run Part 2. I actually liked that movie back in the day. It's probably going to be on my horror film lovers. Or not horror film lovers. That's this. It's going to be on
I
my
was about
Hollywood
to
knock.
say that.
It's going to be on my Hollywood knockbusters at some point.
Yeah,
Because that's
it's only a horror movie to the critics when it came
I
out.
know because it was bombed badly. From what I
Yes.
remember, but it is a movie that I remember from cable and shit. So I was just like, Nuns on the Run. But no, this is the Nun Part 2. People are gonna be like, what the fuck are they talking
The
about?
nun, she doesn't run in this one. She kind of glides or flies
Well,
in this. So nun,
this nun runs a lot. You see her running.
she does.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the nun that this actually talks about, no, she glides up in the air or kind of
Yeah, and kind of floats around
stares
and
at
so
people with her
yeah.
eyes.
Your picture of your nun looks very she looks very confused.
I don't know what part that was. I don't remember when she had that look, but I saw it on I guess it was on IMDb or whatever, and I pulled it up and I was like, that looks I mean, she's a cutie, you know. She's my
I think that is absolutely to use your words adorable in this. I think that she is so hot, especially when she takes the habit off.
mm,
She's got her short hair, and I have a feeling that was in her contract. Was like, I don't want to be in this whole again with my habit on. Can I please take it off and
mm.
show my hair and all that, and then we could put it back on in the next. And yeah, she's a lot younger than I thought she was.
So she was in one of my favorite horror films, which is The Final Girls. I don't know if you ever saw that
That's
or
a good
not.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, and she was in that, and that's where I fell in love with her because I was like, "Who is this chick?" She was in that with Nina Dobrev from freaking Vampire Diaries. She had a bigger role than the Vampire Diaries chick. I was surprised about that. But yeah, I loved it, and that was one of I heard that they were gonna do a Final Girls 2 or something, but they never did. And
Final
then
Girls, or Final Girls.
girls, you know, if now that it's been so long, maybe they'd have to reboot it and have it be called the Final Girls again and confuse the fuck out of people like they did with my goddamn Scream. By the way, I want to explain to everybody that story. So I bought on eBay Scream on 4K, and I was so excited. And it was a steel book. It had the ghost face on the front. I was stoked till I realized it was Scream 5, which I didn't have, but that was
It's
not
not
what I
what you
was
were.
planning, for. It's kind of disappointed. But I do like Scream 5. I don't like it a lot. I like Scream 1 through 4, 4 minus 3, you know, 'cause fucking 3
Four minus three would be one. So you only like one?
yeah. Well, 1 and 2. I like 2. And I kind of like 4.
I've come to like three. I've come to like three. A little bit more.
It's
It's mostly Courtney Cox hairdo that I can't stand, but I do I like it a little bit more.
I just one of those things. It was hard to
It's not, if you know, which as I'm sure you do, know the history of why it was made the way it was. It takes a little bit of the pain away, with the Columbine shootings and
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like
I mean,
that.
I
That
get that.
it's
It had to be more PG-13 than horror, R. Even though it was R, it had to be tamer than it was, and and everything.
yeah.
The blood couldn't be as bad or whatever. So I get it. And if anyone wants to see what our thoughts are on it, go watch our mainstream Monday episode,
Yeah, because we're not
Scream
here to talk
3.
about Scream
So we're not
3.
here to talk about that again. We already did a whole episode on that and kind of, you know, on did that. But The Nun 2, I was pleasantly surprised and I liked it more than the first one.
Is this your fourth watch?
First watch, yeah.
Okay, so this would be my third.
And so
So,
did your like thoughts keep changing?
um, my third or is this my second? I think it's my third. I like it better than the first. And since I do tend to do this when we review things, I tend to pay much more attention.
Mm-hmm.
So I because I'm looking for stuff to talk about and all that. And so I yeah, I like this much better than the first.
Mm-hmm.
And which I still think is a good movie. But yeah, I really enjoyed watching The Nun 2 this time around. So
None harder. The Nun 2, none harder.
None harder. None.
That sounds like a
The
porn.
Nun 2 with a vengeance.
Yeah, live free
A
and none
good
hard.
day.
None hard. I don't
Yeah,
know.
none hard. A good day to none hard. A good day to none part two.
I don't know. I don't know. It was better because to me because it had more fun to like I think the problem I had with the first one, I think I explained it in our review of the first one, was that it just was too slow for me, at times. And I get it, like there's got to be some kind of, stuff like built up, so you care about the characters and whatnot, but I don't know. I didn't care for the main guy. I just didn't like him, I don't know.
Well, I think that so I have a couple theories behind this that are just my theories that are um they they probably listened to some of the fan stuff. So people saying, "Oh, it's slow or it's dumb or whatever it is," I think they listened to that. I'm glad that they moved all the comedy with Frenchie because if you remember, that's what I didn't like about the Nun
Hmm.
was I thought that his humor didn't fit the movie. In this, he doesn't make any joke, and
Yeah, he's so
also,
fucking serious in this movie, which is great. He did a
yeah,
great job. Yeah, I
yeah. I mean,
liked
he's
him.
a good actor.
And he
So,
wasn't Frenchie anymore. He was Maurice. Like he wasn't, because I think that was the thing. Like Frenchie was when he was goofy
well,
and
Frenchie
silly and
was his nickname,
right, because he was
but
French.
they call him both in it. So,
Right, but they mainly call him Maurice. Like because those
yeah,
people
they
at the boarding school that he is at didn't know him as Frenchie. They only
no, they
knew
only
him
know him
as
as yeah as
Maurice.
Maurice. So
Um,
it's but my I have a feeling. So I was wondering like, so why isn't the priest back in this? They mentioned the priest and that he got like promoted by the Pope, and then we find out that he died of cholera. And I
mhm.
was thinking like, okay, so maybe the actor didn't want to come back. Maybe he was asking for too much. Maybe, huh? Why is it? Why would they just kill him off? Oh, so we could bring in a black character.
So you think this is more woke than
Yes, but not as bad because if you notice, the nun is incredibly white, like really white.
right?
And this one, if they left the priest in it or brought in another priest, let's say that that was also white, there would be only white people in this entire movie. And so I think they said, okay, we got to get rid of somebody, you know, and let's get rid of the priest. We'll say he died,
Well, they
and
can't
then
get
we're
rid of the girl because she's related to Vera Farmiga, and if they got rid of her, I think that'll cause a problem.
well, yeah, and they want to have that upcoming connection in The Conjuring Last Rites.
Hmm.
So it's so I think they said, well, let's bring in a young black actress, and she's done a lot. She's a good actress. Storm Reed, I think is her
Yeah, I
name,
liked her a lot.
and yeah, and she's other things too. And I think that's why they did it because even the people around them in the movie are all white. Like there's nobody and you know how I feel about that type of stuff. So it didn't bother me, but I was trying to think like, why wouldn't the actor come back? Oh,
So yeah, so what
oh,
you're
do
saying
a
is,
little
like, I mean,
checkbox.
okay, look, diversity is okay if there's a reason for it, right? Or whatever. There's like, you know, I mean, I The only problem I'm having is like you're right, everybody's sort of white except for her. That's gotta be a little awkward, period. Like this is gonna sound terrible, but she's now the token black girl in the movie, you know?
When you're hired like that, you are. And I was going to do it, but I completely forgot. But I was going to actually look up when is it that like black women could become nuns? Like when, because as I'm sure at some point it was all white.
Mm.
And at there had to be that one person that they brought in, but I didn't look up. I forgot to look it up. But I was trying to think like, okay, because maybe this wouldn't match because the I'll show the this is the Blu-ray of it,
Mm.
and it's got its little slip jacket here. So which kind of sucks because this kind of leads into what I was about to say. It has two special features. There's two behind the scenes, and one is just kind of the making of the movie, and the other one is more of the creation of the goat demon,
Oh man,
which is kind of cool.
it kind of reminded me of like a goat version of the creature in This Is the End, you know? You know how that big creature
Yeah,
thing? I thought about it
yeah.
like that, like when it was chasing after them and bumping into things and doing that. I was like, it's the creature
Well, the
from,
goats are always part of evil. They're just one of the mainstays, I think, of that. So there's no audio commentary. There's nothing like I told you. It sucks that it doesn't, but it looks good and it sounds good. So in the Nun 2 Demon in Paradise, they it's mostly behind the scenes.
right?
And they do show Storm at that hotel where the two sisters go to that town and then they get to the hotel and they're like, hey, we have a reservation. And the guy's like, oh, I can't find you.
Mm.
And then she goes, let me talk to the manager. And then it cuts to the other sister outside. And so the behind the scenes, we do hear her. They're showing it of her kind of like berating the manager.
So it was like a
And
deleted scene.
no, there's no deleted scenes or anything. It's really short. It's only like 10 seconds. But she's like yelling at the manager, telling her, do you understand who we are? We're on a special mission. This is from, like the Catholic Church. And then it kind of cuts. So I'm curious if this is the 50s. So I'm guessing that at this time period, they did allow Black women to become nuns, but I don't know if she could get away with speaking to a white hotel manager like that.
Maybe.
So I'm wondering maybe if that's why they cut it or what,
Hmm.
because there are a fair amount of movies these days that are around with history, and but I like the cut. Let me talk to the manager. Cut to the outside. I think what is better than her berating the manager
Okay.
because we know what was said.
So when did this take place?
The 50s.
Like what year in the 50s? Is to be
I
exact.
do have it up here for my for the amount of money. Just remember her saying it's the um okay, plot 1956.
Huh. In 1956. Sister Cora Marie had desegregated the Mercy community in Marion, Pennsylvania, and begun blazing a path for being the first or the only in many settings over the 6-decade career as a Catholic nun. She is one of the many pioneering African American women. Religious Villanova counts among its alumni. So,
Wow, so they picked the year that this started, which is interesting because in the film, the actress Storm, I like her first name, so I'm just going to keep calling her Storm instead of Storm Reed. Uh, um, that she mentions that the men in her family went to war. They went into service, And the dad said, okay, so if the guys are going into the service, then you gotta go serve God. So that's interesting that they picked that exact date, because like I was watching on HBO that show about Julia Child, and I'm like, and her producer is a young black woman, and she's telling a lot of whites what to do. And I'm like, I don't think this would happen. I don't think in real life this would happen. So I looked it up, and the character is fictional. She's actually a like an amalgamation of I think it's three women,
Mm-hmm.
but mostly one. And the actress told, and I think I saw this on YouTube, that she spoke to the producers of the show, and they wanted to hire her. And she goes, well, as long as I'm not the token black woman, I'll take the part. And they said, oh no, you're not. You play this producer, and you're working, you're supposed to be working directly with Julia Child. And I'm just like, but you kind of are. If the whole reason of changing that character into a completely different person, then you are being
Mm-hmm.
used for that purpose.
Yep.
But if you watch the show, yeah, there's pretty much no people in it. But because she's in it, you now can introduce her mother, her future boyfriend. You could do, now you are bringing more black people into it. So I get
That never
concerned if,
existed
right.
in a
And
supposedly true story.
right. Julia Child rising from nothing into what we know,
I
of her
don't know
today.
why we have this revisionist America thing. Like, okay, Django Unchained, cool as fuck because you're now just
Great
rewriting
movie.
history, but you're fictional. Like, we know this is fictional, right? But you're rewriting history and making it fucking cool, you know? And it's Tarantino, so it's cool. Then what is it? What's that? Then they make what is it? This movie that you're talking about, this Julia Childs thing, the show, and it's a complete clusterfuck because it's not. It's changing his. It's like taking the Tarantino idea but doing it wrong because in a way that shouldn't happen. Like they shouldn't force things that are fake into things because then you're just making you're not telling everybody this is a fictional story. You're telling everybody this is based on a true story. You know, that's
Right. Tarantino is honest. So we have Inglourious Bastards, which is a rewrite.
mm,
And then there's also Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is a rewrite.
rewrite of history. Yeah.
But he's being very honest with you about it. Ryan Murphy did that TV show, Hollywood,
Hmm.
which I watched because I'm a big Ryan Murphy fan. And he made it very clear, like when you watch the trailers, this is a what if movie.
Hmm.
So what if Hollywood accepted gay people? What if Hollywood accepted black people? What if? And like everybody was treated completely equal.
Like fair. Yeah, exactly. The
Yeah.
way it
And
should have been back in those days, but wasn't.
right. And so it's his kind of, it's a what if revisionist history type of thing. And a lot of it, what he did put in there was true. I mean, it talks about like Rock Hudson and the gas stations where men would basically satisfy men and stuff. And because while I was watching it, I'm like, how true is this? And
Hmm.
so I did look into it and found out, okay, a lot of what he's talking about is true. He's just kind of flipping it and doing it differently.
Hmm.
And that, so the thing with like Julia Child is women, like younger black women, are going to think that this is a real character, and it's not. It
Hmm.
just isn't. So the show really needs to be like inspired by or something like that. So that's why I was kind of interested with Storm Reed in this one is, okay, when did the Catholic Church start allowing,
Hmm.
women to become, black women to become nuns? And we just,
Hmm.
we just figured
Just
that
found out
out.
the same freaking date, which is awesome that they at least they did their research enough to know when the date was. think they should have picked at least the next year, like
Yeah, the
1957,
exact. It's
because
either an accident or yeah, it's yeah, maybe yeah, 57 might be
yeah, it
better.
might have been better because it didn't matter. We don't like there was never a timeline before, and them saying, oh, 4 years. 4 years, it would have been greater if they said 5 years. 5 years from now, something that happens, you know what I mean? And then that means like 5 years after that, you know, what I mean? They could keep doing that. Like every 5 years, this nun comes back and starts wreaking havoc, or whatever, and things like that. So I don't know. The one thing I really liked about it, to get off the Storm Reed part real quick, but talk about, I really liked the backstory that we got from the nun that we didn't get from the first one, because we were more concerned about, I guess, the demon, and we knew a little bit more about the priest than we did the nun. And so now we've got the nun, and we're learning a little bit more about her life, like her mother and her father, and how, kind of how, like, she becomes sort of like a superhero, like this this goes into like Marvel territory at one point, because her mom connection with her and stuff, you know.
Well, and her ability, that the Catholic Church comes to her and is like, we need you to do this.
And now let's assemble a
And
team of demon hunters, around from around the world. Harry, with all these different abilities. Like, I would have loved to see that. That's the adventures of the Conjuring
the
universe.
priest that can turn into the nun that can fly,
I'm not,
the
I'm gonna suggest that to James and say, you don't have, like, I don't care. I'm not, telling you what to do. I'm not, whatever. I'm just saying, Avengers of the Conjuring, bring them all together in one movie somehow, and then bam, because like they
well,
already
you
do
could
that
do.
stuff.
Remember, I've said before, I really want to see Patrick Wilson play both characters.
Yeah,
So if they do like an Avengers type of thing where they bring everybody together, then
like a
Patrick Wilson can
multiverse.
play. Yeah, he can play as two different characters. So
I
it's
mean, if the Blumhouse can do that for Happy Death Day, why can't Warner Brothers? They love that too. They love DC. DC does the multiverse shit. Come on. Why not? That's my
yeah,
opinion.
and I really just find this because I thought this film was well directed and it was well shot and everything, and I'm still just like, God, this is the guy who did Conjuring 3, which is what I still think is the worst of all of the
It might
Conjuring
not have
universe.
been. I mean, remember, we talked about this. His direction was flawless. Like, he did a great job, like doing set up the shots and doing all the cool shit.
It's
It was the
it's so
script that was so bad.
boring.
Yeah, it was the script that was boring and stuff like that. But the shots
Because we
and
love La Llorona, we really
yeah,
liked that.
and this one had the La Llorona, like, grabs and pulls and stuff that we've seen, in a lot of, because remember, this is the same guy, I think, that did, what is it, in one of the Annabelles or something too, and or was it Annabelle or something where they, I know they did it with Curse of La Llorona too, but like where they pull the people back and stuff, right? And like
It was
have them,
yeah, it was his short film.
yeah,
And we were discussing this last time where people were jettisoned,
yeah.
not like thrown. And he did that in La Llorona, and which is probably why I was so disappointed with Conjuring 3, that I'm just like, okay, I like this guy. And he's the guy that seemed to be James Wan's protege. Like he
Hmm.
really, from the behind the scenes stuff, Wan seemed to really focus on him.
Well,
And
so he
but
he basically, because Conjuring 3, not just us, but a lot of people hated that movie. People like just found it boring and found it to be like, this is not the best Conjuring movie. He, and I think we even said we were worried about the Nun Part 2 because Part 3 did not do so well. But he did a great job with this one. I
yeah, and he really hasn't done a lot. I mean, he did, the short film that got him the job that we discussed. That he did, Curse of La Llorona, The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It, Nun 2, and now he's working on The Conjuring Last Rites. He did do a Billie Eilish. Eilish, is that how you say her name? Eilish? Uh,
Eilish? That's
Billie
what I
Eilish.
always say, but I might be wrong. I don't
You're
know.
probably closer than me. You usually are. He did a music video for her called "Bury a Friend," but he's done more short films than he has feature films. He also has a couple, like two web series. So because of his track record, we liked Curse of La Llorona, we liked Nun 2, but didn't like Conjuring. I'm going to say that I'm looking forward to Conjuring Last Rites because he's got 2 out of 3 for me.
2 out of 3, yeah.
So
I mean, yeah, because like one was just not like I don't know who's writing Conjuring the Last Rites, if it's going to be the same people who wrote the last Conjuring or whatever, because I think they switch it off a little bit or whatever. Like who it better not have been who I think it might have been who wrote it. Okay, no, it was David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick did the whew, that person wrote The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Also wrote Aquaman, so I guess he's in James Wan and the
okay,
Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom. And then also did the story for the Orphan First Kill. Oh, so this person's a
okay,
Warner Brothers person.
yeah, Warner
Like,
Brothers guy, and all those movies I enjoyed, and I will defend Aquaman too. So
but he wrote The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It.
that
So
I will not defend.
but he is writing the last rites. So hopefully, once again, the Nun Part Two, they learned. They picked up on what we were throwing down and saying, okay, you guys were right. Let's make this. We got to make this like epic. Because people aren't going to want to see the Nun Part Three if it's not. If the Nun Part Two is just as kind of blah as the first one. Now,
I would like there to be a Nun Part 3. It could
I
even
would
be a
like
prequel.
I would like there to be a Nun Part 3. I'd like there to be maybe a prequel. I don't want it to be Part 3. I don't like it when movies are Part 3s are prequels. Or whatever, or 3s or 4s. Like I would rather it be its own thing, like not called Part 3 or Part 2,
Like the Nun origin.
Yeah, the Nun origin, where it doesn't have to be. You can say it's like Part 0,
Well, that's what they're doing with A Quiet Place.
good.
I corrected a friend of mine on Facebook with this. It's so we have yeah, so there's Quiet Place, then Quiet Place Part 2, and then what's coming out in a couple months is A Quiet Place Day 1, and it's a spinoff.
Right.
And then we're getting in 2025 A Quiet Place Part 3.
What did your friend think it was? It was the next Quiet Place?
He thought it was Part 3, and it's like,
Okay.
no, it's not Part 3. It's technically nothing. It has no number,
Yeah.
because it's a spinoff. But Part 3 is directly connected to Part 2, but this is not. So it's so I wouldn't mind the Nun 3, yeah, just continuing and then having the Nun Origins as its own movie. I mean, that
Yeah.
would be okay. What I did find interesting with this director, Michael Chavez, is he was supposed to make a movie called The Reckoning. Michael
Mm.
Bay was going to produce it, and the two guys who wrote Feast and some of the Saw
Oh,
movies was going to write it, and it just never happened.
the Project Greenlight guys. My favorite thing from seeing their so I remember I forget, maybe it was Saw, but it was something maybe I think, did they work on The Strangers or one of those movies or
No, they
something?
did. Yeah, The Collector and the
The
Collection.
Collector and the Collection. So in Project Greenlight, there's a episode where they're trying to get the script for Feast like perfect, but those guys, like the producers, want it to be ready to go. And they're like, "Oh, sorry, we just got asked to write another script," and they're like, "Screw your other script. You have a contract with us. Write our stuff right now." you know,
Yeah, they got signed on, but it never happened. They got signed on to write a new Highlander movie.
right during that
That
time.
was during that, yeah, that they
Yeah.
mentioned it, that because they they're like, where are the writers? And they're like, they're writing the new Highlander movie.
Yeah. So
And it's
they
like,
got,
no, get them back here.
yeah,
So
what are they doing? They need to come back over here and finish this damn thing, you know, like, because it wasn't ready, you know. That goes to show you, like, I mean, I write multiple projects, but I will stop writing something if something is going toward production. You know, that's
well,
what you need to focus on.
but this is a special case. This is that they won a contest.
Right.
So you shouldn't be working on something. You should be focusing on the on Feast, and then when Feast is done, fine, go off and ride Highlander. But everybody there won a contest,
Yeah.
so stick to the contest because they can go, okay, fine. Then you don't win the contest, we'll just go with somebody else.
Right.
It's pretty much that easy. But I was thinking about Patrick Wilson today. Dreamy Patrick Wilson, and I was trying to
He
think
is
like
pretty cute,
he is a good looking
I
guy
think. Yeah.
and of because I was while watching this film, I'm like, okay, so James Wan picked him because of a short film. So as a short film, if is the way to go, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And we know from Evil Dead Rises that was a feature that Raimi saw. But then for Evil Dead, it was like a robot short
Mm-hmm.
that got the director that job. So I'm like, okay, so what would be better is just to make like a 10 or 12-minute short film and then hopefully get somebody's attention like James Wan, or make a feature that way. And then I started thinking about Patrick Wilson because it's since we just did Insidious Red Door of properly moving up the ranks, and so here he is, an actor who obviously has a great relationship with James Wan,
Mm-hmm.
that he's now in three franchises
Yeah.
that are
Yeah.
connected to James
Explain the
Wan.
three. Explain the
So
three.
so we've got Aquaman 1 and
Yep.
2, where he's Aquaman's brother, and Aquaman 2 focuses more on them being brothers. And like I said, I will defend Aquaman 2. And I'd be very curious to hear what you think when you see it.
I
Uh,
actually, what is it out yet on HBO Max? I wonder.
Not yet.
Uh,
I don't think so. Not yet. It should be soon. I don't
It
think it's
should
in
be
theaters
soon.
anymore.
But
I'm
here's
going
the
to
thing,
purchase
we
it.
should do it for a one filmmaker, or two filmmakers, one film,
Yeah,
thing
that'd be fine.
because
I
that
would like to talk about it. I would love to see the original cut of it too. So then he's got those two, and then he gets Insidious, and there's four of those, and then he gets The Conjuring, which three of those, about to be four, and playing different characters, working with different directors, and it's almost like it was like James Wan's like, oh, it's time.
yeah,
So now you get to direct Insidious 5. And that film was such a hit that definitely because of its budget, that he could probably go off and do anything he wants. So there's all these different ways. So this does connect.
there's more, by the way,
Yeah,
to do it.
there's
So the guy that directed Annabelle was The Conjuring's DP, right? So you can be a director of photography and you work your way up. Okay.
so
Uh,
show that you could do this. You get along with people. You do your job correctly. You get promoted.
Another example, Gary Dauberman, who wrote a lot of these movies, and that was all he did was write the movies, ended up directing movies as well after that, just moved his way up. So also show that you're invested in these projects, and if you write a couple of them, maybe you'll work up your way to directing them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same thing with the Paranormal Activity films on how those work. So it shows that dedication, starting off with nothing but gaining experience, listening to people, being a team player, you're eventually going to, not everybody, but a lot of people will eventually get to that point of you know
Uh-huh.
you're going to be able to direct a film, and according to Patrick Wilson from the behind the scenes on Insidious 5, he's not listed as one of the writers, but he's definitely one of the writers.
Yeah, he
um
ended up like coming up with ideas for it or something, right? Like,
yeah, so if you're interested in directing, you just have to direct something that's really interesting, and somebody like James Wan seems to go with more shorts than features.
mm.
um but I mean, there's definitely ways of moving up. And
Now the guy who wrote Gary Doberman, the guy that wrote like Annabelle or whatever, Conjuring stuff like that, I think he wrote three movies. Like how he started was he wrote for Sci-Fi Channel. So he wrote, those man eaters.
yeah,
He wrote In a Spider's Web, Blood
okay,
Monkey, and Swamp Devil. So those are all three Man-Eaters movies, and he wrote all three of them, or maybe co-wrote. I don't know, but he was a
okay.
part of those. And that was his first three before he got Annabelle. So there you
So
go.
there,
Like,
yeah, there's all these different ways of doing it. And um I think La Llorona did make money, even though it was critically panned.
mm,
But it's like James Wan doesn't seem to be the type of guy that if your film doesn't do, because he's been there, if your film doesn't do well, he's been there twice, now a third time with Aquaman 2, that that it's he's willing to give chances.
mm,
So La Llorona does okay, and I don't think Conjuring 3 did great. I think it did okay. But then Nun 2 did very well, and we'll
mm.
get to that with its budget and stuff. And now he's doing another Conjuring movie. So it shows that the system works. It may not work for everybody, but it
Well,
does
it
work.
works for those that are hardworking, that are talented and hardworking, you know, because like anybody can write a script, anybody can, you know, but to actually write something good and to get it out there and to get your name thrown into the hat, for writing, Annabelle or the Conjuring movies or whatever, you know, you have to have some talent and you have to work really, really hard. And so I love that. Like I love that these guys do that, go out there and, you know,
Yeah, and it's definitely different groups. They're different kind of like families type of thing. I think like Fast and Furious kind of has that going with it because it's always the same
'cause they're all family.
directors. Yeah, going.
I don't even watch it and I know that shit. I watched the first one once and I was like, yeah, you know,
I
it's
love them
never,
all.
yeah, I mean, one day maybe for the mainstream or something, sometime I'll do it, but I'm just, it's not that, like, I don't know. There's just something about, uh,
they they tend to get incredible. That's the problem with them is when they do go to space, they actually go to space. And where one of the cars has rocket engines put on it and they go to
was that the
space.
time they jumped the Sharknado?
Listen to you.
I mean, Sharknado went to space, but they already went like basically they were in space when they started. Like they were already they
Oh
they
yeah, Brother
jumped
World
that
Fighters.
shark a long time ago. They were done like when they first started, but that was the whole point, right?
Oh yeah,
Fast
that
and
those.
Furious is supposed to be a little bit more.
Well, and Sharknado movies are pretty ludicrous, and ludicrous stars in Fast and Furious.
There you go.
There you
Very
go.
you're
So
finding connections to these things.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So are
Asylum
you.
would be
So are
proud
you.
of you.
So are you. So Now, did you see my similarity to Halloween Ends in this?
Similarities to Halloween ends.
That Frenchie is the conduit for evil, and wherever he travels, the evil follows.
Well, I thought he
In
got possessed. That was why.
Well, he gets possessed, but he's going from like city to
Oh
city,
yeah, yeah, yeah. As the
killing these
possessed,
priests.
but I
And then
mean,
with Halloween Ends, Michael pretty much inhabits the guy's body, and that's Michael doing the killing.
Yeah, another reason I didn't like that movie.
So I thought that I thought that there was a little bit of excuse me, like a similarity between them of how the evil moves and how it kills, is that something is
I like
motivating them
I like
internally.
I like Jason Goes to Hell, where it's like a worm or whatever that goes into people's mouths and then takes over. I think that's what it was. It was like something.
It's a snake, because
Yeah,
the
snake.
snakes are devils. Yeah, the
Yeah.
snake is very evil.
But yeah, I liked that because that was a little bit more, I don't know, fun to watch, and stuff. And I like the Nun too, having the possession because demons possess people, like that's a typical thing. I hadn't seen the Nun since we reviewed it. And so the first Nun, and I was wondering, did we see that? Did we see it take over Frenchie at the end, or is that just sort of
Yeah,
implied in
it
the second one?
no, it's they show it as a flashback, but it's, yeah, he Frenchie saves our main nun.
Hmm. Irene, or well, it's like they called her like irony or something. Irene, like,
Oh yeah, I think it's like Irene or something like that. Yeah, yeah, Irene, sister Irene. And he saves her, but by saving her, yeah, the evil goes into him.
but did we
And then
see that in the Nun?
we did.
I don't remember that. So,
Yeah, because as he's leaving at the end, we see the upside down cross on his
okay.
neck.
So he's been infected.
Yeah. So oh shit, if they're doing a second one,
Yeah.
it,
Okay.
it's gonna be him. So it's and then I liked how the nuns are kind of all in that circle, and the one nun is telling the story of the evil nun,
Hmm.
and then also tells the story of the first movie. That's what I love. I don't like flashbacks, and I get why we
And
do them, but
it
I
was
love that she just tells the story.
well. Here's the thing: most screenwriting and producers and everything like that will tell you, show not tell. You get that a
For
lot.
Yeah, but do we want to show? Okay, I'm going to plug myself here for Maximus 2. I had Ashley, Sarah, tell what happened in the movie. I didn't want flashbacks. Flashbacks to me are cheap. We know a filmmaker who does 80% flashbacks in his movies.
Well, we
And
also know what Silent Night, Deadly Night Part Two was 80% flashback. And that
but if you know why it was that way, that makes sense.
it was
So
money and
it's
budget. I don't know.
no, it was that Silent Night, Deadly Night, the first film, was supposed to be destroyed. It was never supposed to exist after part two came out. Part two was going to be part one. So they removed part one from the theaters. They got Lee Henry, I believe is his name, the director, who's also the editor, and he was supposed to make a whole different movie, just using footage from the first film,
All
adding
right.
in
Oh
new
well.
footage. And then so Silent Night, Deadly Night Part Two was actually supposed to be Silent Night, Deadly Night. And then Silent Night, Deadly Night was never supposed to kind of exist
But then
because
it
of all the
still
flack it
does.
got. But they changed it and made it part two. That's why all the flashbacks are there. So it's I hated it when I first saw it, because I'm like, why am I seeing so many flashbacks? But after hearing and
You
and knowing,
respected it a little bit more.
I love part two. I think
Okay.
part two is the best one. I mean, it's got some of the best kills, and I like the humor and all that stuff in it.
Thank God you don't say that about like Birdemic Part Two or Troll Two.
Troll 2, I'm not a massive, it's fine, it's whatever. Birdemic and Birdemic 2 are awesome, especially the first one. I still haven't seen part 3. I just can't bring myself to watch it.
Why? Because you're afraid like it's just gonna ruin the
Everybody says how
first.
awful it is.
Well, yeah, remember, I got
Everybody.
really mad at Red Letter Media because they took their break and they said they took the break because of Birdemic 3 killing their will to do these things. And then I was mad because Red Letter Because I don't think that's really true. I think Red Letter Media just wanted a break, and stuff, and they deserve one. I was just really antsy. I was like, I want another best of the worst, you know. But
Yeah, no, it's and there's plenty of people that I watch, on YouTube that did review it that just said it was the director has not improved. And I almost thought for Resurrection that maybe he was purposely doing bad stuff because that's what made the first one so awesome.
mhm,
And I'm like, okay, is he doing this on purpose? But then when you see part three, you realize he just gets worse.
right.
And I've seen some of his other movies too that are also pretty bad. So I don't know. I'm not. I just can't. I have the box set, and I just can't bring myself to watch part three. I'm so tired of just watching shit films that it's. I just don't know how much longer I can just watch these
Yeah,
bad
so you
movies.
gotta not hang out with Paul then. That's all Paul finds these days. People just
No,
share them with them. He said he could make a whole season, whole season of Indie Film Cafe just on tens, like 30s, or whatever, our stinkometer thing for Indie Film Cafe. And I'm like, no, I hope he never tries to do that because, um, I'm not a fan. But anywho,
yeah, that's why I would rather watch if I'm going to watch something that's horror. I'd rather watch The Nun 2 and
right.
take a chance. Okay, I've enjoyed 99% of this universe. Let's see if Nun 2 will be good. And I remember liking it, and now I really liked it. And I would rather watch this stuff. It's I just can't. I just can't do a lot of these bad movies anymore. It just even if you look at the stuff that I make, it's very Hollywoody. It doesn't look like it's shot in somebody's backyard because I don't want to make bad films.
Here's the thing. Also, I honestly, I'm getting tired uh of the hate that people are having on new horror, you know? There was a person that went into my inbox today because I posted that Valentine uh was a clip that I sent you, where we're talking about Valentine and we're talking about how it got a lot of hate in the beginning and
A film
everything.
that both of us really like and
Yeah,
gave praise to. Yeah.
right. So we were talking about that, how it got a lot of hate and we don't understand it because it was actually pretty darn good. And I remember watching it when it first came on DVD and going, wow, why didn't I watch this in the theater? Like this was good. This was very much like Scream kind of stuff, right?
Right.
Like that stuff. And it was great. And so um then we talked about what is it? This person went into my inbox and said, "Oh well, it's I love Valentine. It's better than any of the new stuff that's coming out these days." And I was like, "Ah, I hate that. Like I hate that mentality that like there's no good new movies. Even the Evil Dead movies are still fucking great. Um the Conjuring movies are a lot better than a lot of crap that's happening in Hollywood now. Like as far as like dramas or superhero movies even. Superhero movies are dying and horror is killing it, you know? I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah, and we liked Jamie Blanks, we liked Urban Legend,
Mhm.
and so yeah, I mean, I only have love for Valentine. So it's um but I mean it's you also have the critics because I know the critics panned None too.
Mhm.
But and I guess now since we're talking about this type of stuff, I mean the film itself was okay, so its budget is 38.5 million.
Wow, that's pretty
But it
big. That's pretty big.
for
Like
these types of movies,
I know Blumhouse. sticks to the 5 million to 10 million range or whatever. But 38 million, that's a pretty good amount.
Yeah. But it did make 269.5 million.
So more than $200 million, like
Yeah, so it says
230
here,
million or something.
yeah, The Nun 2 was released in the United States by Warner Brothers on September 8th, 2023. The film was a commercial success,
Hmm.
grossing 269 million worldwide, but did receive mixed reviews from critics. So, but to me that doesn't matter. Fuck the critics. It matters if the movie makes money.
Yeah. The movie.
That's the thing. And that's where I think people might criticize me saying that is, well, good movies, some good movies haven't made money, and crappy movies have made lots of money. So it's like, okay, but still, if the Nun 2 is making a lot of money, we're going to be seeing more Nun. We're going to be seeing more Conjuring. We're going to be seeing more, you know, and it's a well put together movie. And I liked it. I mean, I
Mhm.
liked it. And I've said this on other videos that we've done. I am so glad that Frenchie was not creepy because these movies,
I hate to
no, no,
say
no,
it though.
no, no, but I mean towards the girls.
Here's
I don't
what
think he was creepy. I think that
there
he was
was.
just a friendly guy.
He was very friendly, and that's what they made it. But to all looking in, not knowing if we didn't know his character and all this other stuff, we kind of saw from a distance. If he was not related to that girl, and some of the things he was kind of touchy feely on things, and it's just he did very much like there was that part where he was gonna slow dance with the girl, and he kind of gave like the mom, and the kid kind of pushed it on him because looked like the kid wanted him as like her stepdad, you know, like her new stepdad. Like she
Oh,
liked him a lot.
I don't think that's her mom.
Yeah, that was her
Isn't
mom.
mom
Yeah, that
isn't
was her mom.
mom but isn't mom just a title?
No, no, that's her mom.
You think that's her?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's her mom.
I didn't get that that was her kid at all.
They were
I
holding
got that.
hands. No, they were that was a mom. That was absolutely 100%. That was her mom. I think they even have the same last name in the movie.
Uh,
Unless they never, unless she just was called,
Marie's sister Deborah, Kate. Okay, well, Kate is just Kate,
yeah, Kate is just Kate. There's no
and
last name.
Sophie is just Sophie. Um, but okay, I did not get that they were related. I figured mom was a word that was just used like sister, brother, within that
Nope,
thing.
nope, nope. Maurice works in a boarding school in France where he has befriended a young Irish student named Sophie and her teacher and mother, Kate.
Okay, all right. So I still say that he wasn't creepy. The Sophie liked Frenchie
Maurice, yeah,
or Maurice and wanted him to hook up with her mom, and they obviously liked each other. But I don't think that he did anything creepy,
right.
and because once again, 99% of men out there just don't want to fuck you. They just, it's like that's not their mission in
Yeah.
life.
And
They
he
are
was,
decent people out there, and he seemed to be one of them.
like I said,
So thank you.
he was like, you know, he said, now the old version of Frenchie from the first Nun might have been creepy, if they had
He was
gone
hit
with
on the
this.
sister a little bit, Sister Eileen.
Yeah, there was a little, yeah, but uh, and then was it? But like I said, when they slow danced, he kind of was like, I don't know if this is a, like, should we? I don't know if we should do, and then she agrees to do it, so she consents to doing it, and they dance, right? And it's like the start of like, okay, this something could go on, and I was a little worried that they were going to him off because It's just, that's it's a good way to say, all right, well, we've used this character for two movies. If we kill him off, there's that like emotional thing that, that's there or whatever. And I'm glad that they did it.
Well,
I'm
I
glad he
mean, they'll
survived.
just if they make an actual part three, they could just say that he died of cholera. Where's
Well, I
Frenchie
hope
these
not.
days? Oh, he died of cholera.
I hope
Um,
not.
but it's you got the school bully who I thought deserved the goat's horn in her shoulder. Freaking little mean girl.
I know she was mean, but I'm glad they didn't kill her.
I almost
Um,
wanted them
I
to.
know, and that was the thing I was thinking of, like, is people are gonna want her dead or whatever because she was so mean and nasty. But it was, I still kind of cared. Like, I didn't want any of the people to get killed if they, like, it wasn't one of those movies where I'm like rooting for the killer. Like, this is a movie I was actually rooting for everybody, even the nasty girls, because I'm like, they don't deserve to die. They're just mean, and maybe after this whole situation, they'll be a lot nicer. I wish that they had had that scene with the girl where they were like, "Hey, do you want to come play? We're not gonna be mean to you. Just come and play with us," you know, and stuff like that. Like
I
because
don't know.
they,
She's a mean girl at the boarding school. She goes off to college. She then becomes like a nasty sorority chick who then becomes like this horrible girl boss. So I don't know. Maybe offing her might be the right thing to do. But I did like that she was the only one who got the goat's horn in her shoulder. I was very
hmm,
happy about that. And maybe that should tell her something.
that's what I'm
Like
saying.
the
Maybe she'll change her ways. Mend her habits. Um,
habit, because they
well,
were habits.
I
Habit.
I say habits because that's funnier. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, the point is, I liked. I kind of like even the Mean Girls. I was like, this is why I'm glad I'm not a girl. Like, dudes are not this like nasty to other dudes. We just literally just don't care about each other.
There's a
Like,
commercial that I thought was hilarious, and it's at a cafe and it's outside. There's two women and then there's two men, and they're both sitting. They're sitting separately.
mm,
And the camera, and I forget what the commercial is for, but the camera goes to the women first, and the women are going back and forth, going, "Oh, look! It looks like you gained some weight. Oh, look at that dress. Oh my God, it looks horrible on you. Oh," and the women are just putting each other down. And then the camera moves over to the men, and the guy goes, "Dude, new tie?" He goes, "Yeah, like it," and that's it. Like the commercial ends,
hmm.
and I've never forgotten. I obviously forgot what the product was, but it was like,
Was it a
yeah,
tie?
I don't remember, but it's like, yeah, that's kind of how it is that women seem to attack one another while men don't.
Yeah,
You
there's
know,
a comic. I don't know who it was. I forgot, but it was on. I saw on TikTok. Somebody was doing their, how TikTok you can actually mimic what the people are saying or whatever, and do skits like whatever. Anyway, the point is the guy starts. It's like this guy and his wife talking about stuff, and it's like, the wife's like, "Hey, did you see Jeremy at when you went and play golf?" Yeah. Like, how's he doing? I don't know. Like, what, you didn't ask him? It's like, should I have? Like, and it was exactly the way dudes are, it's like, yeah, well, you spent the whole time in a, golf cart with the guy and you didn't ask him how he was doing. It's like, nope. And then he was like, but I know he got a new, golf, rod or whatever it's all and putter. It's all I know. Like that's all the dudes care about. Like they're not gonna go and talk about relationship shit, like and all that stuff. And the women are so different. And this movie showed me a little bit of like, I mean, we've seen it in movies before, but like how girls are just nasty to each other the whole time. They're very catty. They will say, "Oh, is this for your boyfriend?" Ooh, and
Yeah,
all this stuff.
which the mean girl was jealous. I mean, there's probably a lot of jealousy in there that there's that relationship, and maybe she wanted that relationship and she's not getting it. But it's, I mean, where I work, I went and helped out at another property the other day, and the manager there is taking all these phone calls, and she goes, she goes, I may have to leave, and I'm like, oh, why? What's up? She goes, my daughter is being bullied by these two girls at school. And I'm like, oh, well, how old's your daughter? She's like 14. I'm like, well, okay, well, I've seen Mean Girls, I guess that makes sense. But it's just like, even today, it's still going on. Guys just duke it out. You can call it toxic masculinity as much as you want. We just duke it out. And either you're just going to walk away, or you're most likely you'll end up being friends with the guy who you got into the fight with.
Well, that was us back, back then. Nowadays, it seems that more and more kids are becoming like guys are becoming more feminine and
Yeah,
stuff. And
yeah, I got a big problem with that. But yeah,
yeah,
okay.
and then
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's a thing. So there's not even a lot of duking it out anymore. And a
No,
lot of girls are
unfortunately.
getting tired of this. Like, where are the dudes who will protect you? Like if you're stronger than your man, that's not that's not a normal
And
relationship.
and these are the girls who made Barbie over $1 billion.
Well, I mean, guys
It's
made, you know, we know a guy that went to that movie, I think, 20 times. So he helped make a
he
billion
may
dollars.
he might be in his 30s or however old he is, but he ain't no man. I'm sorry. That's that's I watched Barbie streaming out of
I
curiosity,
didn't
but
see it
it's
yet. I am gonna do Barbenheimer at some point because I haven't seen Oppenheimer either. And a friend of
that
mine
I
wants
do
to
need to see.
do Barbenheimer together, and then was it and then Paul will come join us for Oppenheimer. So we'll do Barbie first, then he'll come join us for Oppenheimer because he has no interest in Barbie, which I don't blame him. I mean, it is not a movie that is supposed to be meant for guys. It's not supposed to be. But
No, except
it
Ken is getting all the attention,
I
which
know
is great.
it's weird. It's such a Barbie like moment in real life, but it's pretty much exactly what Barbie was talking about, was trying to
Well,
make aware of.
and I really disliked Barbie and its message, which I think was complete bullshit. But it's you go back to, let's say, Frenchie, for example, and that he's a man. He's out there doing maintenance. So he's building things, he's cleaning things, he has that garden, he has an interest in one of the
those girls
teachers.
those girls bring the bugs and stuff, and he has to go and fucking clean up the bugs, which I think there's that bit where the I guess the mother superior or whatever she was came up. They kept calling her madam, I guess, or whatever. She comes up and
Yeah,
she says, Maurice, there's bugs back again, or
yeah, the
whatever,
cockroaches are
and
back. Yeah.
cockroaches are back. And he was like, oh, of course they are. And I think he knew that those girls are doing that, and causing that, and that's why he has to go
Yeah, the
because he
mean
had that little.
girls.
The
Yeah.
mean girls are doing that now. He has to go fucking fix it, of course, and he said he would, because he's a man of his word, a man of his word, and he, I love Frenchie in this. Like he was not Frenchie. He was not the original character. They said this movie you're gonna be the star in a way, like he kind of stole the movie from Sister Irene in a way, in my opinion.
I
She's
think
great
there's
in
a
it.
lot more stuff with Frenchie than her, or at least
Yeah,
it seemed like it. So
I felt like kind of Sister Irene was just there to be the thing at the end that save that helps save it, but like throughout most of it's Frenchie, like all Frenchie stuff, his relationship and stuff.
well, what did you think of the Valak, the evil nun, killing people that had nothing to do with the murders.
What
Like like for some reason the girl who's delivering the stuff from the store, and then
Mhm.
you have those stupid boarding house girls going out there and like mocking her, making fun of her
That
because she
was
has
a
a
girl?
job.
I thought
Yeah,
that was
that's a
a I thought that was a boy.
no, that's a girl.
Oops.
And
I not that
and
a bad actress or anything. I think she had really short hair and I
I'm
don't
pretty
know.
sure it was a girl, but she's delivering stuff and the girls are making fun of her, and then she sees, Frenchie, and then right there is the evil nun, and then she gets killed.
Right, she gets her like neck snapped or
But
something.
I don't I think somebody pointed this out in a review I watched a long time ago, is why would the evil nun do that? Why would the evil nun kill people that have nothing to do with like the
Because she was
revenge?
snooping around in a
You think
way.
it's just
Like
because she
wrong
saw?
place, wrong time. I think that was literally it. Because yeah, she saw him and the nun. And so if she saw the nun, she has to die kind of thing. Like she can't go and tell people, "Oh, I saw this," you know, like she's a loose end basically or whatever that they needed to clean up. I think that was it because like any time that they were getting close to whatever was, that one the mother superior madam lady, she got killed too, and they basically lured her out with her child or something. Remember, there was like that her child was, or a child was there. She was following it, and then it turned out to be the nun coming after her or whatever. Do you know?
Yeah, yeah, I thought that some of the murders were a little weird in, so I kind of agree with that reviewer in a way. But yeah, I guess that makes sense because I don't know if, yeah, if Mother Superior had anything to do with
Just they're
the
snooping.
nun's
They're kind of
revenge.
getting into, because remember, she came up to Frenchie and she told him to go to bed, and she sort of woke him up from his like little possession days thing. And Valak didn't like that probably because there was, I guess there's like, I think the whole point was she was supposed to find the eyes, right? The
Yeah,
eyes of whatever it was, the Lucy or whatever. And so
yeah, they have it actually right here. Yeah,
Lucy's
it's
eyes,
yeah, Saint Lucy.
yeah. And so they're looking for St. Lucy's eyes, and they find it later, but Valak has no idea where it is, and Valak is there to find the eyes, right? That was the whole point. So, honestly, uh, I guess I don't know. I guess like she couldn't do anything unless she actually took over the body, you know? Which where does she go? Like, how does the demon just kind of fly around or whatever?
Maybe it's like Avatar, where Frenchie's like an avatar, so she's someplace else controlling him, and then it comes out and
I
can
watched
fly
Avatar
around and
once and hated it and never watched it again.
uh
Once again, another kind of movie that like it's not that I don't like that kind of stuff. It's just I was just bored, by, and it was a world building experience, and it was, it's a franchise and all this stuff. And I was like, this is Dances with Wolves, but with blue people. And
oh, it is. I mean,
yeah,
that
and it was
as
just kind
much
of
as I love,
boring. And I don't like Dances with Wolves because it's a Western that just kind of bored me. I don't know. Um, I
I understand.
remember when
So
you used to go, you used to be like, Jonathan, do you like anything?
yeah.
And
Well, you're getting better with some stuff. I
I'm
mean,
trying to
it's
watch things that I normally wouldn't watch. Like eventually we're gonna do that zombie thing and stuff. And like I'm not a big fan of zombies unless they're goofy and silly, you know?
oh, not me. No.
Like Shaun of the Dead or my
But
boyfriend's
Shaun of the
bat.
Dead shows respect to zombies and the Romero movies,
Right.
because they're such huge fans. I take my zombie films very seriously.
I don't.
And I cannot just watch a goofy zombie movie, and I don't think Shaun of the Dead is a goofy zombie movie. I think
My
it's a very intelligent zombie movie.
my favorite thing in the world is when Homer Simpson is like, take me, and they're like, brains, brains, brains,
Right. Yeah,
brains.
they just leave.
Like they
Yeah.
leave him because he has no brains. You know? And that
See,
that
but that's funny because that's written by smart people and it's already a comedy show. So
right.
that's okay.
But
So
yeah, but plus it's parodying Return of the Living Dead out of all the zombie things, not like Dawn of the Dead.
and that's a
Because
good one that has comedy in it because it respects the
yeah, it's also like, and it's what Dan
yeah.
O'Banion, like it's well
Yeah, John
written, well
Russo, Dan
directed.
O'Bannon. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's yeah, it's so it's well, did you so like in the first Nun, I loved the idea of it's the actual blood of Christ
hmm
that
like they have an
destroys the
actual,
nun.
yeah,
And it's like in that like little container. I love that idea. I think that was an awesome idea. So in this, they do kind of a variation on that, but they foreshadow it at the beginning of the film where I'll call her Sister Storm, she is not into this. Like she's only there because of her dad. So she doesn't really believe.
yeah.
And that's the only thing that would make me believe, since I'm an atheist, is I would have to go through what she went through to make myself, to become a believer. But they do talk about the faith of the wine being the blood of Christ,
Mm.
and that we know it's wine, but your you your faith takes it further into making you think that it's blood when it's not.
See, I never got that. Like I'm Christian, but I never got that devout in my beliefs to think
Oh,
like,
it's horrible because you're a cannibal. You're eating a person, you're drinking his blood, and you're eating his skin.
but he
So
wants
it's
me to. So he's giving me consent. Jesus Christ said, "Take of this, this is this is my blood, this is shed for you, blah blah
some
blah." You
dude
know.
wrote that. We don't know if it actually came from Christ. That's if Christ even existed, but it's still pretty gross when you think about it. But but since they and I accepted Sister Irene's example of what the wine does. Like,
Mm.
did you know during the Prohibition period that when alcohol was illegal, the only alcohol that you could drink is wine, and that's because of the church?
Oh, I did not know that. That's
Yeah,
interesting. Thank you for that bit of history. Don't revise that in any of your movies.
I won't.
Um,
But so I liked how that's at the beginning because then at the end they bless the wine, then converting it, making it into Christ's blood and it exploding all over the evil nun.
I love that. That was so cool.
And I think I saw some review a while back that made fun of that. Wine destroys the nun, really? And it's like, no, they explain at the beginning, like if it was just you and I, and we're putting our hands on the
Mm.
wine and going, "Oh God, please make this, make this Jesus's wine, or make this Jesus's blood," it probably would never work. But when you have somebody that's that dedicated and believes in it and has explained it,
And then she
and
also converts the girl, Storm,
yeah,
to pray with her, which that is a really big thing in the Christian faith, is to get the other followers who do not believe to start believing. And once they start believing and they start having the faith and whatever, that's powerful too. Like,
well, and Fright Night, remember Fright Night
mhm.
is Chris Sarandon as the vampire. The reason why Roddy McDowell's character, why none of the crosses and stuff work is because he's not a believer
Mhm.
until he believes. And then when Sarandon grabs the cross, his hand starts to sizzle.
Wasn't
Because
that
then
the,
he
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was saying, so that's when you have to believe in stuff. You have to, and they do, and I love that the wine just explodes all over her, and then she kind of like it's almost like acid
It was
as she just
also in From Dusk Till Dawn, uh, Harvey Keitel's character lost faith or whatever, and
Yeah,
then
because of his wife dying.
he had to gain the faith again because he started seeing vampires. So he goes, if there's vampires from hell, then there must be a heaven. Because if there's a hell, there's a fucking heaven. So I'm gonna start believing again, and I'm gonna start like having my faith. He got his faith restored before he was able to, before he died, or whatever in the movie.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert: if you haven't seen From Dusk Till Dawn, sorry,
Uh,
been a while, been a
been a
little,
while,
yeah,
like a
it's
couple
been.
decades.
So if you haven't
Hey,
seen,
sorry if we ruined it for you. Guess what? Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father.
how dare you?
How
Um,
how dare you?
so what is it? I remember this vividly. I had was he a substitute teacher? I'm saying vividly, and I'm trying to remember these things. But like, I had a teacher, right? He was like a world geography teacher. We had a world geography class in eighth grade, and he was telling me, I just got back from watching a movie. Or I not got back, but I watched it this weekend. I watched From Dusk Till Dawn. I was like, oh, what was that? Like, and he's like, oh, it was weird. It was like one part was like these was it criminals, and then it becomes like a horror film. And apparently he didn't know anything going into it. Like he'd never seen any previews, didn't even know it was a horror film. He just, went to it, saw what's his name, saw the two guys on the cover, so he thought it was a crime drama, or whatever. Watches it, he was like, I was not expecting a horror film. I was like, that
Uh,
sounds cool. It's like an
uh.
eighth grader. I was like, oh man, I want to see that movie. But I don't think I watched that until high school, sometimes like years
Oh,
later.
I saw it opening weekend. So
Yeah, that was a horror film, so my parents really never let me watch horror films much, and then it was rated R. That was another thing that kind of stopped me as a child from watching these movies, And eventually I got to watch them, and I mean, they're still like some of my favorite movies, you know. So anyway,
there you go.
moving on, as Paul would say. Um,
Moving
mhm. So,
on.
I really loved Sister Irena's. I really loved Maurice. I loved Storm Reed's character. I think she was Sister.
I got it right here.
Uh,
She is Sister Deborah.
Sister Deborah. And then there was Kate, the demon nun, and Sophie, and I loved them. I love the demon nun who, um, just looked like the
Oh,
nun. Like I mean, she was cool, but it was, it felt almost more CGI. So I don't know. I was like, do we really even need her there? Like, did they just CGI her? Period. Like her face and whatnot. I don't know. Um, but she
wait,
did a
which
good.
character?
The demon nun, the nun.
Oh,
I mean, I don't know.
I like
That
her. But did you? Here's something because we were just looking up the cast. So the woman who played Irene's mom is also Saint Lucy.
was that supposed to be like yeah, because she was they were the descendants. So
Yeah,
Irene is
because
a
we actually
descendant
see
of
her getting burned and the eyes being poked out and
yeah. And then
you
her
know.
like she was the descendant of Saint Lucy. So she was the one who can use the eyes and do all that. You know what I mean? Like she had more power because that was her family bloodline, you know, and whatnot. Which it's just weird, like to say eyes out of all things, like the eyes of Saint Lucy. I'm like, so all right,
Well, as I'm sure eyes played somewhere in there in some sort of mythology. I mean, when you
Christian
look at
faith.
it, I mean, look like Pan's Labyrinth. The eyes are on the hands, so it's Oh, so what did you think of the Conjuring connections?
What were they? Like, I didn't look them up. What were the Conjuring connections that you were referring
So
to?
Sister Irene opens a door. She's walking through the boarding school at night. She opens the door, and it's very bright, and that's the hallway for the Warrens
Oh,
house, and
really?
the evil nun is standing back.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's that connection. Then near the end, um, we see with all the flashes, and I think it's with Sister Irene, and it's like all the flashes from the movie and stuff like that. You see a close up of Elaine Warren,
Or
and then it
Lorraine.
goes
Lorraine. I think that's her
what's
name. Lorraine Warren?
Lorraine. Sorry, Lorraine. Yeah, Lorraine. So it's a wider shot, and then it gets close into her eyes. It's
Mm.
very fast. I went back and watched it, and then of course we have the shot that's actually taken from The Conjuring 3 of them at the end talking to the priest, because I guess it's supposed to be like going to the first film. So it's so there's three connections to The Conjuring, which I do not think is an accident because of the new Conjuring movie.
No.
But I love when she opens the door and there's the very bright kind of 70s hallway, and then there's Valak just standing at the very back of it. And it's like, oh, that's cool. There, that's our connection. So
So supposedly, The Conjuring: The Last Rites has Sister Irene in it.
I'm very
So
happy. Yeah,
I'm
I'm happy about
wondering
that.
what they're gonna do because obviously they can't have her like unless it involves time travel, you know. They can't have her come to the Warrens and or unless they make her
They just make
older.
her old.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because what time do the Warrens start doing stuff? Like 70s or something?
Yeah, I think 60 it started in the 60s, and they just got really known because of Amityville, which was like mid 70s.
Okay, so at some point, I guess Irene could visit them or something. And, I just don't know if they're going to do that or if they're just going to have some kind of little tie to the nun, stuff. Just because, like, it's kind of cool. Once again, this is a cinematic universe. Whether or not people like that or not, these are all tied together in some way or another. The Conjurings are I I want to say I guess the Conjurings are supposed to be sort of the Avengers stuff, or whatever. Or at least no, they're the Iron Man of the, Conjuring universe, and they're the ones that started it all to begin with, and then it developed into something much bigger than I think what they were planning. Because
Yeah,
I
but
watched a
that's why it didn't work when we watched in
Yeah.
chronological
So
order.
I
Because
watched a thing where they're trying to tell us how to like do a cinematic universe, and they were explaining that like you got to make the first movie good, and hope that others will want to watch, more, you know. Marvel did it well because they did the first movie that did very well, Iron Man. Then the Incredible Hulk I don't think did as nearly as well, but they were able to bank still on Iron Man, to make future stuff. And then all the rest started to continue. And that's sort of what they did here. They made The Conjuring, did really well. They ended up doing I don't know if The Conjuring 2 was next or Annabelle was next, but started doing all those, spin-offs and, you know, stuff. And The Nun 2 is a great spin-off, you know. So
yeah,
hope
so far I'm liking them all. I mean, really, except for Conjuring 3 and maybe just Annabelle just being kind of boring. But I could still watch it if somebody wanted to do like a marathon. I could still Conjuring 3, I think I would just be you watch it, and I'll go out and go do something. You
that's
know.
your Barbie, like Paul's Paul's Barbie. I don't Paul wouldn't like any of these movies because he doesn't like fucking new movies. I guess I don't know.
Well, Paul doesn't like Hollywood.
Yeah,
So it's
and
and
this
I
is
love
Hollywood, but
Hollywood.
this is fun. You know what I mean? Like I enjoy this stuff.
Yeah, I mean it's when you're because we were talking about historical things at the at the beginning, but it's you got to take a lot of this stuff with a grain of salt unless it really hurts history. You're one of your favorite films, one of my favorite films, Ed Wood.
Hmm.
It never happened. That movie never happened. It did
Well,
not happen that way. It did
not
not happen.
exactly the way, but there, if you read the book Nightmare of Ecstasy, there are some things in there that were actually
They
true.
did take stuff, like the baptism in the swimming pool and all that type of stuff. But it's, Lugosi had a wife and they cut
Yeah.
her out. And there was a lot more stuff with Ed and the other movies that he made instead of just the ones that they show. It's kind of like, Bruce Lee, the movie that they made, like
The
Dragon, the
dragging
Bruce Lee story.
continues or something or
So
what or
yeah,
yeah.
and they show that the way that Bruce Lee broke his back is because he got into a fight with samurai warriors so he could teach that type of martial arts in America. No, he fell off of a scooter. He was driving a scooter and fell off and hurt his back. That's what happened. He didn't fight samurais.
The
But
real
that's what we want. So, we want to believe those type of things. So even with the Warrens and some of this stuff with the Conjuring universe that are based on real things, we know it's not, but we like watching it
yeah.
because it's fun.
Speaking of Bruce Lee, I always thought it was weird that they made a movie called Game of Death, where the first beginning of the movie has it where his character gets shot by somebody, or whatever on a film set, and it was a real bullet, not a blank, kind of thing, and he survives or whatever, and then that's the whole movie is he has to go and find out. Then his son actually does get killed by a real bullet. I mean, you have to start thinking, was there some kind of conspiracy of like, making this happen for real life? You know?
Well, you got to remember with Game of Death is he stopped making it halfway through to go shoot Enter the Dragon.
Right.
And then when he came, so he never got to finish Game of Death. So that's when the studio took over and made their own thing on it. But I guess the his visions of Brandon being killed were real. That he did have nightmares of his son being killed.
And his son was killed, like after his death, but like,
Very
that's
unfortunate.
sad.
I've there's only been like one or two celebrities where I actually cried, and Brandon Lee, I did. I actually cried for him. I thought that really sucked. He had such a great appeal, and he was just on that rise, and people liked him, and it was just like, fuck, this sucks.
The big question is, do you think he could have taken care of Brad Pitt?
Uh, in real life, no. In Tarantino's alternate universe, yes. So
Yeah.
it, it's but we
Brad,
know but we know why Brad Pitt's character in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood does defeat Bruce Lee. It's so he could take on the Manson clan.
yeah.
So if you could beat Bruce Lee, he could take on like three or four people
Yeah,
in
you
his.
you would believe that, as opposed to if he was just some stunt guy, that couldn't just throw Bruce Lee into a truck, or to a car and make it hit in the fucking car and shit, you know, um, like a superhero. Yeah, I mean he's a
Yeah.
superhero, kind of character, and I get the idea that Shannon Lee says that like like she doesn't want her father to be remembered like that. It's not real, but it's like, some people might actually just like this, just like to go back all the way back to when you were talking about the Julia Childs thing. Some people might think that's real, you know, or
Right.
whatever. Even if people are like, well, if you look at the rest of the movie for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it's absolutely not true. Some of even the movies or TV shows that they were making were not real. Those were fictional movies and TV shows. There were a couple that were real, mixed in with the ones that were fake.
Well, and that's why you have to do your own research, and that's why something like Napoleon bombed. Is Napoleon is so historically incorrect that I think word got out, and one, nobody wanted to see a movie that long again, and
Especially
it's
around Christmas. Like people
yeah,
got shit to
it's
do on Christmas.
yeah. I mean, it's. I wanted to see, it's Ridley Scott. I don't really care about Joaquin Phoenix, but it's Ridley Scott, so I wanted to watch him. Now I don't think I will because it's so historically incorrect. And
you
you
know.
need to do your research in the same way that while I was watching Conjuring 3, I'm like, this is too impossible,
Mhm.
too impossible to happen. And then there is a like a feature length documentary on the case, and like nothing in that movie happened. It was just like he murdered his boss, and then and it was the very first court case where they brought the devil into it, and that's
Oh, I
where the
remember that.
devil.
I remember all that because I did some research on it too, and I was like, wait a minute. In real life, it was sort of a boring story, like,
Yeah, he killed a guy, and then the lawyer's like, you know what? We're going to say you were possessed and that the devil made you do it. Hence
uh,
the subtitle.
and I think the Warrens weren't even actually involved.
They were consultants. That was it.
Yeah. So, but
That
they
was
weren't
it.
like real involved like they were in this
No,
movie.
not like in the movie.
So
No.
it's sort of like it gets annoying when they do that stuff because part one and part two were very much they were hands on and those actual cases and stuff. Even though I think was it two the one where they yeah, two is the one where they went to that one house and stuff. And I think I looked
They
it
went
up
to the
and
UK.
yeah, and I think they went to that one house and in real life they were like, yeah, this nothing is here and they left. And in this, they were like, nothing's here, but we're gonna stay around, and then, blah blah blah, right? Because you can't make a story out of them going away and then nothing happening, right? You have to
Right.
you make something interesting. So these movies and the Nun, I don't even think is a real thing because they don't even have the Warrens aren't really investigating in this, thing or whatever. It's just a spin-off because they see the Nun uh was it the picture of the nun or something like from part two, I think that's the only thing, right? Or something. The nun attacks them or something in part two or whatever.
No, Valak's there at the end.
Okay.
They destroyed Valak in part two.
Okay.
Yeah, because the Lorraine is fighting Valak while the husband is hanging from the window and he's like holding on to the girl,
It's,
and Valak's
I
stopping them from doing it. And
feel
it's
like
just a
this was
very.
like a year ago that we reviewed
Yeah,
these movies.
it's they do kind of blend into each other after a while. So
Yeah.
it's but people just have to do their own research. They need to. I long when the remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out, and at the very beginning of it is that the crime scene footage,
Mhm.
and it's like this is the only picture that we have of whatever his name is. It's not, they don't call him Leatherface, but they this is, and a friend of mine called me and said, John, this is a true story. Is Leatherface still out there? I'm like, it's not a true story. Like, but it says it's a true story. They have footage. And I'm like, no, I said it's based on Ed Gein. It's not and other things.
Well, I
It's
mean,
it's
it's
not
based,
real.
yeah, it's
You
inspired.
need to do some research. Is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre real? No, it's based on these people. It's like,
Th-
but people
That's
think
why I
these
like
things
that
are.
website Snopes.com, where you could just look up like, did this happen? And they'll
I've
tell
heard of
you
it.
or whatever. They'll debunk it, if it's not a true story or whatever. And I like sites like that because I need sometimes the internet is such a black hole of like misinformation. Anybody can, you know, anybody on a Reddit can say whatever the fuck they want, whether or not it's true or not. So you really do have to do your research, but you know, you might be wrong. You might be wrong doing your research. You may look up the wrong thing and be like your friend looked at the beginning of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He thought he did his research. He thought that was true, No. You gotta do a little bit
No,
more
it's
digging.
not. No, some of that stuff is fun, but you just have to know like it's I don't know how much you're into the Beatles, but allegedly Paul McCartney died in like 1965, and it's a clone. It's been a clone ever since. And even McCartney's played into it. And there's all of these clues on the albums and movies and to him being dead. And it's fun to do the research and to look at everything that people have put out there, but it's not real. It's not true. Paul McCartney never died.
I thought
But it's
Elvis
fun.
Presley was still around, you know.
They say he is the guy that was in the coffin was an impersonator. They said like if you look closely, you can see that the famous sideburns that he has, that one of them's peeling
It's
because the
okay.
glue didn't stay.
Elvis is living with Andy Kaufman and Sasquatch. They're all hanging out together.
They're all hanging out on some island somewhere.
Some island, which is so funny considering like why would they want to do that? Like, I mean, if I were to, fake my own death, I wouldn't want to go to an island in the middle of nowhere and just chill on an island all day. I'd be bored as shit, you know? Like
I don't know, unless you're hanging out with John Lennon and Jimi Hendrix and
Janis
you know
Joplin,
Janis
all
Joplin,
the
and then I
people who
guess
died at the age of 27, the 27 Club. You've heard of that, right?
yeah.
I'm always sort of like, oh shit. I'm surprised nobody's really made like a movie about the 27 Club as a horror film. Like, oh, you're approaching
Yeah,
the
there's been
27 Club.
documentaries,
Yeah,
but
but I'm saying
yeah,
as a horror film, like
it's a
like
horror
Final
film.
Destination, like there's there there's a thing out there trying to catch all the people who died at the age of 27. You know, I'm coming up with great shit for Hollywood. Hire me, Hollywood. I will write the
Don't
27
steal
or
anything.
the 27 massacre or whatever. I'll write it. I'll be okay with that. Do not steal anything, James Wan. I'm looking at you.
Yeah,
Unless you hire me, unless you hire me
we
to
only
write.
give you praise, dude.
Uh yeah, I think I mean, of course Conjuring 3 didn't get the praise, but I don't think he would have expected
Well,
that.
not everything is going to be golden. You got to have your hits and misses here and there, and then some things aren't your fault. Stuff. Like Aquaman 2 wasn't his fault. So you just
Amber Turd wasn't his fault.
no, he did the right thing at the beginning, which was to defend her because he was her director,
Yeah.
and then he didn't after that.
I
So it really, then it really was just, you know, yeah.
I mean, look, I'm sure she didn't audition for the role. Maybe she did. Maybe she said she did. I think she did. I think she said she auditioned a bunch of times for that role or whatever,
I
and she
don't
got the
think she
role.
was really known when I think she was in a
Yeah.
bunch of movies as the hot blonde, but I don't think that she was really known up to that point.
And wasn't she a redhead in Aquaman?
In Aquaman, she's redhead, yeah.
Yeah. But she has nothing to do with the nun too, so I'm just gonna leave her alone. Let
No.
her do her
So,
thing.
but surprisingly, she is good in the remake of The Stand.
I
I
haven't
didn't
seen
even
it.
realize it was her when I watched it. I'm just like, fuck, that's Amber Heard. She's actually good in this.
She can
And
be good.
and
I liked her
Ezra
in
Miller is
Drive
awful in
Angry.
it.
I liked her in Drive Angry. Your boy Nicolas Cage movie.
Yeah, it's a good film.
I mean, it's a great film.
She's good in what she's done. She's fine. It's everything that's behind the scenes that
yeah.
makes her a nightmare. And she's hilarious in Pineapple Express when she's on the phone with Seth Rogen. She's she was yeah. So she's a good actress. She's just not a good person.
Yeah.
So there you
Well, I
go.
think that about wraps it up for the actual review of it. What would you rate Nun 2?
So out of 5 habits, I'd give this like a 4.
I give this a
Close,
4
close.
as well.
Yeah, yeah,
I
maybe.
liked it. I think I don't know what I gave the Nun 1. I'm pretty sure it was lower than 4, you know, because I remember not liking just
I think
being
you thought it
bored
was
by it.
kind of boring. Yeah,
Yeah, that was kind of boring. I didn't think it was a bad movie. None of these are bad. Even The Conjuring, I think I still gave it like 3 something stars, or whatever. Three and a
Conjuring
half.
3, I think I gave like 2.
Yeah, I think I still gave it a higher rating because there were things I liked in it enough that it didn't bore me, but like The Nun bored me. I remember originally when I first watched Curse of La Llorona or whatever, I kind of got bored by it and I turned it off. So now I'll watch it later. Did I ever tell you I was writing a demon movie once at my old house in Van Nuys when I was living out there. I was writing a demon movie, and I was looking up demon conjuring phrases and stuff, and all of a sudden, like weird shit was happening. And I was like, all right, I'm not fucking with this right now. Like I'm taking a break.
Coincidence.
Yeah, coincidence maybe, I don't know, but it was weird, and I didn't like it. And I was like, and I don't know. I think I should have had a
They
priest come
so
in.
what you do is you repeat the action like the next night. And if it happens again, then there's something weird going on. If nothing happens, it's just a coincidence. That's all. And that is a
So
scientific way of doing things like this. If you
so if you say, to God, show me, because when I was a kid, I said
show me
that.
the
I was
money,
like, show me that you're real. And lightning struck my car, like my parents' car. Would you have gone, okay, okay, that was a coincidence. Do it again, and wait for him to shoot.
it's possible because during a storm, lightning does strike, and you're sitting in something that's
There
made
was
of
no
metal.
storm. It wasn't storm. There might have been clouds. There was clouds, obviously, but it was
I
not storming. It was no rain.
I would I would still probably need more. I would need more than that.
It
So
was so weird. It made me like all of a sudden I was like, okay, never mind. I'm gonna leave you alone. And I did, you know.
if you were to walk out on a sunny day, it's 120 degrees out, and you walk out, out into the street, and you're like, "Fuck you, God!" and you're like, "Oh, damn you!" and you're doing all this, and all of a sudden, just a bolt of lightning comes down and strikes you, and you're dead. I might then go like, "Oh shit!"
Okay. So I'm driving down the road and it's raining really hard, right? On the thing. I said, God, I can't pray to you right now if it's raining too hard. I literally said that while I was driving, right?
Why?
I
Why
can't
would you be praying to God while you're driving?
because
That
I
seems
was
very
asking,
irresponsible.
because I was asking for forgiveness because I did some shit I wasn't very proud of at the time. So I asked him for forgiveness, or I was like, I can't ask right now. I gotta wait till, and then it literally, the it stopped raining. And so I said,
Rain
oh, okay,
stops.
well, all right, let me pray. Blah, 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 blah. I pray. I said, amen. Starts pouring again. Coincidence? I don't know. It was weird. It was weird
No,
enough for me to
no,
go,
no,
I can't like
no,
deny these things.
no, no,
Nope.
no,
If it happened to you,
no,
I'm
no,
sorry. I can't live
no,
that life. I can't live a
no.
life where I don't.
I need to live a life of science and facts, and not faith and oh look, I couldn't find my keys and I asked God to help me find them, and then I did. First of all, why does God give a crap about your keys? Be more responsible and put them in the place you find them. God has a lot, he has a lot of bigger issues to deal with. And even with somebody like you, where you did something that you didn't like, why would God care? He's got bigger things to deal with, like
Because he
earthquakes
cares
and
about me.
tsunamis.
He cares about me
Why?
because
Why
he
does he
cares about
care
all his
about you?
children. He cares about
No,
all
he
his children.
no, he doesn't.
Yes, he
Because
does.
if God cared about all of his children, then you wouldn't have some guy go in with an AK-47 and
No.
shoot up an entire classroom,
Yes, she
murdering all
would
the
because
children. No, you
everybody's
wouldn't.
allowed free will.
No, because God knows of everything that's going to happen. So it
Yes.
contradicts itself. You
Why is
can't
that
have free
contradictory?
you can't have free will and God knows exactly what's going on. You can't say that because they contradict each other.
Okay. So if God just could do everything, then what would be the point of people?
Because they're playthings.
No,
Why would God put people on an unstable planet? Why not
because
make the planet stable?
I mean, maybe we did it. Maybe it was stable in the beginning and we
It
fucked it up.
wasn't. No, we didn't fuck anything up. He put us on an unstable planet. It's been unstable since the beginning. Why would God throw a hissy fit and flood the entire planet, killing innocent women and children and animals and insects and everything else, to start everything over again, have a family commit incest, then to repopulate the planet? That makes no sense, and it could never happen. That's a cruel God.
Well, we
Why?
never said God was, well, I mean, I guess God's supposed to be perfect, but he,
Even
you know,
Jesus said shitty stuff in the Bible. It's not like Jesus said great things. We just quote the good things, but there are bad things that have been said, and there's been things that have been completely misinterpreted too.
well, anything could be misinterpreted, interpreted from whatever. I
I
don't,
mean, you look at something like, like man shall not lie with man, simply because that is in the Bible, has made many people go out and murder gay people.
but I mean, that's a whole different kind of like, that's evil in a way. That's an evil thing. Even
And
though
where did
they
they get it
say,
from?
but they, but
They
they're
got it from
not
the most
getting,
violent book ever written.
all right, we're not, we're gonna agree to disagree because we can't, like, there's nothing.
But without these type of things, we would not have great movies. And a lot of
That's
those
an
great
interesting,
movies
like,
are,
that's an interesting thing, like that you watch. It's kind of like how I don't like to watch sports, but I love watching sports movies.
yeah,
I don't
they're
like.
interesting. They're dramatic. They're
I
they're
know
I'm actually
they're the
watching
more fun.
Ballers right now and and I think it's really good.
Yeah, it's created from the people who made Entourage, except for I don't think Doug Ellen. He might have. Did he? I know Rob Weiss, great, wrote it, but anyway, great.
Yeah,
You
Mark
know,
Wahlberg is listed on there and other stuff like that. It's unfortunately without this type of stuff. Like one of my all-time favorite religious rapture films that I mentioned this to you and Paul, and I'd love for you guys to watch it so we could review it, is The Remaining. And I had no idea while watching it that it was made by a religious organization to scare the shit out of people.
and
And it is absolutely perfect. I mean, it answers everything. I mean, it's perfect as far as like a rapture movie goes.
so it's like
And
Left
it's
Behind, or because that's what it sounds like.
no, it starts out with the girl from Spy Kids, and she's getting married, and all of a sudden the rapture happens, and everybody disappears, and their clothes are there, and horrible things happen after that. And the great thing from her, from the girl from Spy Kids, is that she goes, I did everything right. I went to church. I did all this type of stuff, but I still wasn't raptured. It wasn't good enough. And you do have, and I thought that was really interesting that you could still believe in God and think you're doing right and you're not going to get raptured. And
I
then one of the guys, I think it's her husband, because she does get married. He goes out into the street and starts yelling at God. He gets hit by a bolt of lightning. And one of the guys is an atheist. And one of the girls goes, you need to accept God. So because if you're left, you have to die to go to heaven. So even if you do believe in God, it doesn't matter. You have to die. You're not going to get raptured. And the atheist is like, fuck this. God made, but no way am I going to give in to this. I am not going to say I'm sorry. I am not going to do it. And he has to live on Earth. Trumpets are all playing while all the freaking demons come down and kill everybody, all the like archangels and stuff. It's a great movie. It is
Yeah, that sounds
really
awesome.
good.
That sounds great. Uh, it's funny because I watched a not a Rapture movie, but I watched there was like a 40-minute uh I don't know what you call it, because like it was a religious short thing, that I guess was supposed to scare people into Christianity. And what they did was called The Appointment, right? No, was that The Appointment? Or, well, anyway, the girl had an appointment with death, right? And whatnot. And what the big thing was, her sister got murdered by a serial killer, right? you know and well, the serial killer was like about to get the death penalty. Before the death penalty, before his what the illegal injection or whatever it was, he repented and asked God for forgiveness and said he was sorry for everything that he's done, all this other bullshit, right? All the stuff that he did. And then he went to heaven, but the girl that got murdered by him never repented, never said whatever, and she went to hell. And she got to the sister got to see both sides of this, like that her sister went, right, and this is what you need to do. You need to repent, and you need to say you're for sorry, or you're going to hell instead of going up to heaven. And was it fair that the and most people would say probably no, it's not fair that the serial killer went to heaven, you know. And I think that was such a weird movie to like sort of, I don't know. I was kind of upset about it.
Well,
I was like, what are you trying
it
to teach
as
people?
you should be, because that's why priests on death row for people like Ted Bundy and stuff sit there and say, "Do you want to repent? Do you take Jesus as your savior?" So then Ted Bundy can go to heaven.
So if
You
I
you
go up
think
to
you would want him
heaven,
to go?
Ted Bundy's gonna be up there hanging out with me?
It depends on if he repented or not. I don't know if
Oh.
he did. I know he cried like a baby while he was, being executed. But if you are a mass murderer, if you're one of these guys who went into some like gay bar or like a school and shot all these people, and you were on death row, and the priest is like, well, if you want to get into heaven, you have to repent and you,
Mm.
you know take Jesus as your savior. Then if you went, oh, okay, you're going to heaven.
So fucked up, man, to think about that. Like, I don't want
Yeah.
serial killers hanging out with me in heaven. Go away.
So
Uh,
there's a good chance that Hitler's in heaven. There's a good chance that Dahmer's in heaven.
I don't
There's
think so, because he didn't get the death penalty, did he? He got shot, right? Like
No,
Hitler.
he committed suicide.
Yeah, he's
Him and
going to
Eva, yeah,
hell.
they
He's going
they
to
did
hell,
the
and
the
he's
cyanide capsule. They even gave
remember
it to their damn dog.
in Little Nicky, he gets a pineapple shoved up his ass. So it's the best part of Little Nicky. Little Nicky was not great, but like that part is so fucking funny. Just that, oh, it's time to, and he's wearing like a little dress, and they're just having fun, just shoving pineapples up his ass. Oh
I,
man,
I I think I saw Little Nicky, but I don't know.
you
Probably South
probably
Park did it better.
blacked it out of your head. Oh well, South Park did it where uh was it Saddam Hussein is gay with Lucifer, with Satan. Oh Lord. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this. This
We
was
got way off target.
yeah, we got, well, I mean, we're still talking about religion, but this movie was a
Yeah, so I guess
religious
it
movie.
connects,
I guess
sure.
it is whatever.
But that's why it's interesting to watch this type of stuff with somebody who believes and somebody who doesn't.
Right. We
So,
Paul and I just did sort of a Siskel and Ebert review of Pirates of Treasure Island, and I liked it, he didn't. And it was sort of fun to see, like, because he was talking about the historical inaccuracies. I'm like, dude, this is made from the asylum. Like, I never expected anything historically accurate from them. I just expected people like, you know, whatever, pirates to be fighting each other. That's all I expected, and that's all I wanted, and I got it, and big spiders and junk. Like that's, whatever. That's all I cared about. But yeah, it's fun to do movie or to do reviews where the people argue, but in a fair way. Like Siskel and Ebert, sometimes they're mean to each other. They're nasty.
oh well, they
Uh,
never liked each other, so that
yeah.
was
Yeah. See, the difference is like with Siskel and Ebert and with us is we actually like each other. So we'll argue, but it's not, it doesn't matter because, we're both different people. And I don't mind telling people I'm a Christian. I don't try to tell people that they're wrong. I've never been like that, where I'm like, you have to become a Christian yourself or you're gonna die and go to hell. I don't, and look, believe what you want to believe. I'll believe what I want to believe. If there is a heaven, hopefully everybody goes to it except for pieces of shit, people that
child
are just like
molesters,
child molesters or
human
Hitlers or
traffickers.
whatever. And maybe there is no hell. Maybe there's a heaven and the only other thing is just being dead and never existing again, And I don't know. I don't but I like the movies like this where it did have the religious context, but that wasn't all it was. It wasn't all religious stuff. It's not Dogma, the movie Dogma, which I just only problem I have with that movie is way too much talk about religion. After a while, I'm just like, I'm bored. Like I want more snooch to the booch. You know what I mean? Like I want more comedy. And I think Dogma was great, but had like way too much like, okay, I know too much about Christianity and
See,
Gnostics and other
and
stuff.
I
And
think the opposite is I think probably Dogma is one of his best movies because of his Catholic upbringing, and even Red State,
oh, Red State is
is
amazing.
so
I wish he had done his Rapture, which he was hoping to do. Did you ever hear that?
yeah, he talks about it on one of those
Yeah,
documentaries.
on one of
So
his
it's
evening with Kevin Smith, and oh, if he had done that, that would have been fucking phenomenal. But
I
he
mean,
just didn't have the money for it.
yeah, and it the a good atheist, like myself, is you do read the Bible, you do study, you do watch documentaries, you do talk to people, and uh um I absolutely love the Left Behind movies. Love them. Not I don't even really like the one with Nicolas Cage because
But you
it's
like
not
the
really.
Kirk Cameron ones.
I love the Kirk Cameron ones because they're more based on the books, and the devil is in there. And the devil is the one who like takes over everything. And it's a guy, he's kind of like Damien, from the Omen. And I love that about Pure Flix and some of these other movies, that they will bring in the devil, and it'll be some charismatic guy, who's fooling everybody.
That's what I like
And
about Supernatural. They have the devil, and the devil is is Mark Pellegrino, who's been in a lot of stuff. You've probably seen him in something or whatever. But he's like, but they kind of make him where he believes he's correct. Like he believes he was ostracized from heaven unfairly, and that his father's a piece of crap God, and he doesn't care, and he wants to make life a living hell for everybody else, and shit, and this stuff. And then they've got Gabriel, who's like all jokey to him and saying, "Oh, you're mad at daddy for abandoning you, blah blah blah. Get over it." And shit like that. I'm like, this is funny and it's interesting, to
yeah,
sort of see
I
that.
love stuff like that. I don't know if you remember a TV show. It only lasted like 4 or 5 episodes, called The Burning Zone.
Mm.
And it's basically, what I liked about it is that it was the X-Files, but with religion. And I think it was, yeah, like only 5 episodes, and then it got canceled. But religion was a very big deal in the show,
Oh wow.
and God was part of it, and I loved it. And I've
I've
never
always
seen it
wanted to do
anywhere.
stuff with angels because to me, I I truly love like the archangels and looking them up and finding out, you know what I mean? Seeing all these cool things about them, finding out that there were female angels or so, kind of things like that. Just interesting to me, like
Yeah,
that.
there's that movie Legion that's
Yeah.
just Terminator, but with angels. I love that film. I thought that was awesome.
I haven't actually seen that. I don't think. I don't even know. I don't think
It
I.
is the Terminator. It is literally the Terminator. Like, they took the script for the Terminator and they just said replace names, and they just replaced the names of like the
So it's
angels.
not the Terminator. It's the Twilight Zone episodes that, or Outer Limits or whatever it was that James Cameron stole to make the Terminator. Just started with
Well,
that.
it did, and the soldier,
The
and
soldier, which was very,
the hand with the glass finger, I think, is the title of the other one.
yeah.
So
Yeah. But yeah, those were,
Demon with the glass hand, I think, is what
yeah,
it's called.
Demon with the Glass Hand. That sounds familiar. And was it fucking Harlan Ellison sued and won. And I love the story he tells about how he actually snuck into a screening. He wasn't allowed. They wouldn't allow him to go to a screening of the movie because because James Cameron knew he would, and he saw it and he was like, "Yep, yep, that's two of my ideas put into one movie. And because James Cameron was probably watching Outer Limits one day, I was like, oh, that's a good one. That's a great idea. If I put
Oh,
both
the
these
soldier
together.
is Terminator. I mean, it's the one guy. I think it's the bad guy who's meant to be the Terminator. does the electricity in the alleyway. I mean, the soul. I mean, he really did take stuff from there. I mean, I could, as much as I love James Cameron, we could do a whole video on just how he's never had an original idea ever. I mean, like you said, Avatar is Dances with Wolves. You know,
Yeah, True.
Aliens
What
is
is True
Starship
Lies though?
Troopers. True Lies is based off of a short French movie.
Okay. Titanic is the story of
Is
Titanic.
Titanic,
The Titanic.
and The Abyss is Michael Crichton's Spear.
Aliens is a sequel to Alien. So, I mean,
Well,
that's not
aliens
original.
aliens would be Starship Troopers. They even say we're going on a bug hunt, and that's in the
Wait,
book.
wait, Starship Troopers was a story or something?
Starship Troopers was a book written in the 1950s. The
Okay.
bugs were communism. So
Hmm.
when Starship Troopers came out, people go, "Oh, it's just a ripoff on Aliens." No, Aliens is a ripoff on Starship Troopers, the book.
The book, yeah. Interesting. I didn't know that. Well, there you go. So now we have alienated Hollywood completely by, pissing off James Cameron and
I can't
other
even
people.
grab the target of how far we've gone. It's like so far that way, I can't even grab it to bring us back
If
to
people are still listening to this, please let
the
us
Nun
know
2.
because
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, I don't know why. Like I would have turned it off like I don't know, 2 hours ago. But me personally, it's funny because I don't really watch these over, I don't know if you do or not, but I really don't watch my stuff much, unless I watch more of the pickups and stuff, our collection videos a little bit more. Um, but I don't watch these reviews because unless I have to do like some kind of research on it, to remember what I said, and then even then I skip, through things. So I'm very weird like that. It's just, it's not that just yeah. But film freaks and stuff like that, those I rewatch because I don't know, I just have a blast with them. Not saying I don't have a blast with these. It's just these are different. You know.
Well, there you go.
There you go. That's how we're gonna end this. Well, thank you for being on the different podcast here. For Mainstream Monday. Join us in I think it's gonna be 2 weeks, whatever I guess it's the first Monday in what is the next April. So so whatever Monday that is. Hope it's not April Fool's Day because that would I don't think it is. I think April Fool's Day is a Friday. Anywho,
I don't. Easy enough to find out, but I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this and we'll talk to you see you in a couple weeks. Till then, everybody. Bye.
Bye.